Warp speed is engaged. Welcome back, podcast fans, to a very special episode of the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast. It is only our second top 10 episode. If you have looked on our channel, you'll see that we have previously done a top 10 Star Trek movies episode. But this one is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do our top 10 Starfleet starships. I will go over the rules that everybody was given before we start, I should say. But first, let me introduce everyone, because on our previous top 10s, we've always had a panel of 4 people, including myself and my co-host. But this time around, it's a big category, so we've got an extra guest in as well. So we actually have 5 of us here. I am your regular host. I am Captain Mike Wilson today of the Utopia Planitia Fleet Yards. And I am joined, as always, by regular co-host DK.
Hello.
Hello, DK. You looking forward to talking some ships?
Yeah, this should be interesting.
Yeah, awesome. We are joined by regular recurring guest who was actually on that top 10 Star Trek movies episode, Adrienne Park-Tucker. Adrienne, welcome back to the Trek podcast.
Hello, friends. I'm so excited.
Yay. You've got nothing but positivity for all ships, it seems. So
yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how you've narrowed this down to 10, because
it was really, really hard.
Yeah, you've already sent me messages saying, "Oh, poor little ships for the ones that you had to leave off." So
I know
this is going to be tough.
I felt really bad about those, but they're out of there.
Absolutely. Our 4th guest is a self-confessed fan of big, beautiful nacelles. You'll have heard him on the podcast a few times, most recently on our review of Assignment Earth, I believe, the episode. It's Rick Everson. Rick, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me back. Lovely to be here, especially talking about nacelles.
Awesome. And you are, before I get it wrong again, it's the 10 backward podcast you are representing, right?
It is 10 backward, yes.
That's what I thought. I knew, really. Awesome. And we are joined as our 5th guest for a first time guest on the podcast from Comfortable Spot Podcast. Please welcome Ken Sweeney. Ken, welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Good. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. It's great to be here. I'm enjoying this already.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to, getting to know you a little bit and talk about throwing in on the deep end, talking all about starships and doing a top 10 with us. So I hope we're all ready.
50 years of waiting for this moment. To stand up and have a go with some and show some love to others.
Awesome. Yeah, all those years weren't wasted poring over the Enterprise D technical manual and the like.
Yeah. That last week.
Same. So, as I said, this is going to be a top 10 episode. And before we started, all of the guests were told to make a list of top 10 ships. And if they wanted to, up to 4 honourable mentions and up to 4 dishonourable mentions. And I provided them with a few rules, because we'll probably end up doing various different top 10s about, general Federation ships or alien ships. So the rules for this one were as follows. It was number 1, Starfleet ships only. Pre-Federation is fine, but non-Starfleet Federation ships are not and will be included probably in a later top 10. Number 2, no auxiliary craft. Again, they'll probably have their own top 10. The definition of that is up to your discretion. If you decide, for example, that a runabout is a small ship rather than an auxiliary craft, that's your call. Number 3, cannon ships only. Again, this is pretty much your call to define, because I'm not a canon snob. And if you want to include ships from alternate timeline eps, like the 3 nacelles Enterprise D from All Good Things, or ships from books like the Aventine, that's up to you. Same goes for Star Trek Online, although Picard has made 90% of those canon now anyway. Number 4, if you want to group together similar ships, for example, the Enterprise Refit and A, or name an overall class, like to say Miranda class or Excelsior class, that's fine, but your vote will be counted for the overall class and not any individual ships of that class. For example, you may like the Akira class design, but we could hardly name any outstanding specific ship of the class. We probably could, but, we'd lose the audience. And finally, number 5, have fun. We're all just celebrating a geeky thing we love. And, I look forward to hearing everybody's lists and getting on with it. So, is everybody okay with those rules then?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. That's great. And if you are new to the idea of a top 10 episode, what it is, we basically are going to go around and ask everybody for their number 10 ship. Then we'll go around and ask the number 9, number 8, etc., etc. I will be assigning points values based on where they place in people's lists. so that somebody's top 10 ship, for example, would get 1 point. Their number 10 ship, I should say, should get 1 point, if I can finish tripping over my tongue. Their number 9 ship would get 2 points. Their number 8 ship would get 3 points, and so on and so forth, up to their number 1 ship, which would get 10 points. Those points will all be accumulated at the end of the podcast, and I will add them up and come up with, hopefully, a final combined top 10. With all of that out of the way, then, we just have to decide on one more thing, which is an order. And we may as well go in reverse order, and we'll let you go first, Ken, since you're the new guest to the podcast.
I was just busy listening away there. Okay. All right. Well, I'll start with number 10 then. Number 10 for me is the Sovereign class starship. And nice. I remember first seeing that starship actually in the cinema, because back then it didn't have any there wasn't much on the internet. So there wasn't any big reveals, so I had no idea what the story was with this new starship. I remember seeing something in the newspaper, but I kind of, deliberately avoided that. So when I went in and saw the first, the first scene, and particularly the scene when it swooped in during the battle, this big, massive thing on top of I think it was on top of Worf's little ship. And, it was just a Colossus looking thing. And I said, that's great. That's really good evolution for how they've done it. So I will give you a little tip going forward. A lot of my preferences are from this period of time. What I really liked about the actual starship and that design of the starship at that time, and talking about as in special effects wise, was it was nice and bright. So you always very quickly to see a good outline. Whereas I think nowadays you're kind of squinching at your HD TV to see what exactly is that shape there. Oh it was great. It was a brilliant starship. It had everything you need. So from a TV point of view, from a special effects point of view, its color scheme was lovely. The whole shape of it was really, really good. And when you had the detail of the actual guys on the deck, on the ship itself, the hull of the ship during that scene, again, you got to see just how big it was. And that was really, really brilliant, because you never really got to do that. So overall, that was my top 10 ship. Really, really brilliant. I loved it. And it's still, even looking at it now, it hasn't really dated. It looks brilliant. Even in the, there's just enough detail and not too much. So that would be my number 10.
Awesome. Well, I should say, by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, there will be hopefully some visual aids, because I have got some images up with all of these ships, and hopefully you can see them. And as you can see on screen now, the Enterprise E, or a Sovereign class ship of some kind. I think it's the Enterprise E, I presume. So, that gives 1 point to the Enterprise E. I should have said before we started, by the way, I will pepper the honourable and dishonourable mentions in between the things, just to give it a bit of extra spice. So we'll come to the first one of those after we get everyone's number 10. So... next up, then, I believe, Rick, it was you. What was your number 10 ship?
Okay, so my number 10 is the Galaxy class. Because this is a design I kind of both love, and I'm also a little bit meh about. I'm complicated. Thank you. So, Next Generation, that is absolutely where I got into Star Trek. That's how I started. So, it was the first real Starfleet ship I saw. And obviously, after 7 years, TNG means a massive amount to me. So it's always going to be, that's my first Enterprise. That's the ship that I was introduced to. And it does look pretty cool. If I'm honest, I'm not a big fan of the nacelles. I like my nacelles long. I like my ships sleek, long, look like they were doing Warp 3 standing still. And big, long nacelles that look like they're tearing up a chunk of space when we get going. And these are kind of quite short ones. I'm not a big fan of the oval saucer turned side out. I'm not a huge fan of the beige color scheme inside. But despite all that, this is the Enterprise that I first encountered. This is the TNG ship. This is the one I fell in love with. It's the Federation's big symbol of look how peaceful and clever we are with our massive ship that we bring kids on. But we can still hold up against a Borg cube and some Klingon ships. But that's kind of that's the era where TNG starts. It's an era of a massive amount of peace. Everything's kind of calm, and obviously it all falls apart with war, Borg invasions, and everything. And the ship designs move on. But I'm always going to look back fondly on the Galaxy class, which I need to really say, she's not fat.
I wondered who'd be the first one to bring that up.
She's big boned, isn't she?
Yeah, she is big boned. 42 decks, gosh, she's big boned.
Them nacelles keep it all together, you see.
They're a statement, that's right. So, Rick, just to clarify, was that the Galaxy class, or was it the Enterprise D specifically that you're giving your point to?
I'm going by class, so Galaxy class.
Galaxy class, fair enough. I can't give that point to the Enterprise D yet then, but that's okay. So next up would be Adrienne. And Adrienne, what's your number 10 ship in that case?
Well, I did my list a little differently. I just use the actual ships that I love.
That's fine. That's
I'm
cool.
not a tech person. I'm not in, I don't know much about the design specifications and everything, but
mine are individual ships, I think. So
okay. My number 10 is the USS Kelvin. Like I was telling Mike, I've said this over and over. These are the ships I am emotionally tied to. So they don't have any rhyme or reason for most of them, but just I love what happened on them. I loved the ship itself. And this ship went into this crazy battle, all these problems going on. But my reasons for picking it is as Winona's giving birth, all these things are going on, and JTK comes into the world and loses his father. So it had to be on my list.
That's fair enough. It's not one of my personal favorites, I will be honest, but that's cool. You have a legit reason for it, I guess, and a lot of good stuff happens.
Yep.
The interior is nice, I guess.
Yes, I mean, it withstood. I mean, right now in my head, I can see them, the babies coming into the world, and I can see everything going on and watching the destruction and self-sacrifice, and that's my choice.
Plus, at the end of the day, it was commanded by Thor for like 20 minutes. So.
Exactly. Oh, of course. All my favorite universes.
In the world was introduced to Chris Helmsworth that evening in the cinema,
Oh, pretty much. Yeah.
As Amtrak, as Iron Maiden or whoever they are said, nothing else matters. What was great about that ship, though, and I have to say, in its defense, there was a great scene showing how the phasers worked close up. That was really cool because they sent that Nirada sent a multiple string of disgustingly horrible, frightening weapons, and you could see it. It was desperately, the phasers were working, overheating, just desperately trying to catch everything. And I thought it was brilliant because you didn't really see that before in any Star Trek film or TV show. And it was a nice scene. It just showed these little things popping up and working like crazy. So that was cool about that ship.
I do remember that scene in the cinema being especially awesome on the big screen because that's one way to start a film with that like epic, attack on one ship by a huge, much bigger outclassed ship is awesome, cool. So USS Kelvin gets 1 point, courtesy of Adrienne. DK, what is your number 10 Starfleet ship?
Okay, my number 10 is the Eisenberg class. It's not exactly sleek looking, it's big, it's clunky, but I love it for two reasons. One, in that it's named after the late, great Aaron Eisenberg, and two, it is my go-to ship on Star Trek Online. We've been through quite a lot together, so I've developed quite a bond with mine. So
that's fair enough. Wow. It's really good. I like that it is its own unique design. It doesn't look like anything because it's from the 32nd century, so why necessarily would it have to? And detached nacelles are quite cool, I guess. Mainly it's probably mainly the tribute part of it, I guess, that sells you on that one. So awesome.
It definitely.
Yeah, that's fair enough for a very noble, honourable reason. So
I'm trying to like it. That's all I'm going to say on it. I'm trying. I'm looking for something on it, going, yeah, that works, and I'm trying. It looks like a dolphin front. It's weird.
You know what it is? When I first got the model, it weirdly is reminiscent of like a futuristic looking hand phaser. You just want to pick it up and point it like a gun at somebody. It's odd. But
it's got me out of so many
now,
situations over the last couple of years that I can't help but love it.
That's fair enough. Awesome. So I'm going to go with my number 10. My number 10 ship is going to be the USS Discovery, NCC 1031. If you need any more specifics, I would probably group the two together. But if I have to pick between them, I would say the refit or the 1031A would be my preference. I think it improved things that I didn't like about the original Discovery, like the copper sort of plating look. I wasn't a fan of, so I preferred it when it went to the old gunmetal silver grey look with the 32nd century refit. I also kind of do like the detached nacelles.
I love the detachable nacelles too.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a really cool futuristic idea. Plus, I like the way that they've kind of connected the drive to the saucer section in a different way, more Enterprise D-esque. And I don't know what else to say. It's a nicer deflector, so it's a very pretty looking ship. And at the end of the day, it still does that really cool thing where it spins around and warps through mushroom space, which is a ridiculous concept, but it looks cool when it spins. So, so why not? So yeah, that would be my number 10, which would give 1 point to the Discovery or Discovery A. As I say, I grouped them together, but if anybody wants to contest that fact, I'm happy to just keep it as the Discovery A. Awesome.
The got a Tron makeover, didn't it? Sorry, I'm talking over you there. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just looking at the image, and it's just a beautiful ship.
That's a good image of it inside of the Starfleet headquarters. You were saying, sorry, Ken.
Yeah, it looks like the lads from Tron got their hands on it.
Yes.
That might be why I love it.
Yeah. It's still to me sucks like it's they must have pulled it out of the bin when they were coming up with the redesign for the Enterprise and the original motion picture, because I think that's where it came from, that idea, didn't it?
It was before the motion picture. It was one of the original concepts for the Enterprise by I don't remember who. I know I've seen a Ralph McQuarrie painting of the concept idea where it was basically that. It had the big triangular drive section and a saucer. But I do actually know the original Discovery's design, the reason for it, because it's in one of the books that I've got, the behind-the-scenes things. And it's so weird and trippy, and now you won't be able to not see it if you don't know. Apparently there was a plan at one point for the Discovery, the original one, to disguise itself as a Klingon D7 battlecruiser by just shedding the outer ring. It was going to lose the outer ring, and then it would just have like that then does make it the exact shape of a Klingon D7.
Oh yes, it does. Yes, I can see it now, and I'm going kind of. I'm just taking like, here it comes,
getting shot by VJ.
Awesome. Yeah. Big plastic heads on them. I mean, I can't. I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but this is on my dishonorable mentions. I'm afraid. I
was going to come to that for you next, so go for it.
The reason it's on my dishonorable mentions is because for me, it just didn't look like it was in any kind of lineage. There was no lineage. Like even when they kind of put everything on steroids for the reboot movies. They still had a certain degree of lineage. You could recognize that it was a Starfleet ship. But for me, what it did do is it looked like it was a different design path that they'd come up with a good few years beforehand. And then, going forward, like the Enterprise E and all that would have kind of been a direct kind of lineage in that. But for me, it just looked so different. And I just think with Discovery, they just made so many mistakes in the way they came up with the idea. And they're correcting it now with Strange New Worlds in the last series of Picard, is that they didn't kind of go with the flow the way Star Trek should have been in terms of designs and something like that. So for me, the problem isn't that it's not a nice looking ship. I think it's a great looking ship, but it's a great looking ship if it was in Battlestar Galactica or something. So, it didn't look like Star Trek to me, and that was the big issue I had with it. So that's why it's on my dishonorable mentions.
I will say I've brought this up in the podcast before, but I place a lot of the blame for Discovery's ship designs with Brian Fuller, because during the kind of genesis of Discovery, he decided he wanted ships that didn't look like anything else, which, as you said, just abandons any lineage.
That's not what people want. It's like Star Wars turning up in kind of a Starfleet ship. People go, what? There's like, Doug Drexler was the man for it. So he should have been given.
Absolutely. But that's why the Discovery ships from the first season, the kind of the new ones that are all in the Binary Stars battle, they've got to all have apparently boxy nacelles. He didn't want anything other than square nacelles, and he didn't want it didn't want any Klingon ships that looked remotely recognizable, which is why they all look horrible for the most part.
They made one mistake. I think that was it. They didn't follow the lineage, and it doesn't matter about conforming to what the fans want, because like if you do that, you're going to go down a rabbit hole you're never going to come out of. So they should have just kind of looked at every other Star Trek, maybe taken stuff from it and just said, right, let's go with that. They do it now. I mean, I loved the kind of revamped version of the Enterprise in Discovery and on Strange New Worlds. I love that. I can kind of put the kind of suspension of disbelief aside and the canon images and all that kind of thing, because it just looked nice. But
fair enough. Cool. Awesome. Well, that was your first dishonorable mention and my number 10. And so we are going to see, Rick, do you have any dishonorable mentions we can come to for your first one?
I literally have no dishonorable mentions, I'm afraid.
That's
fair enough. What did you under the desk?
And what about you, Adrienne? Any dishonorable mentions?
No, not yet. I plan to agree with some of you just so I can be with the cool kids.
That's fair enough. DK, I know you've probably got something.
the Enterprise J.
That's also one of mine, so we'll just diss it together.
Yeah. I'll go back to what I said. I think it was the episode when Dom was on and we were talking about it. It just looks like one of those plastic Fisher-Price vinyl records that's been put in the sun too long and squished a little.
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking for the picture because I do have it, like I said, because it was on my dishonorable list as well. So yeah, anything else you particularly dislike about it? Because I've got a laundry list of issues that I can bring.
You could probably sneeze and snap one of those nacelles off.
Oh yeah, I'm genuinely. I've mentioned this again on that episode, but I do have the model of this. So, you know, because I'm an idiot. But the nacelles are so thin and flimsy and so barely attached by the flimsiest of little nacelle struts that I'm genuinely terrified that just looking at it the wrong way is going to snap one of the nacelles off.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's not the wisest design.
It needs massive nacelles.
Well, it is supposed to be the biggest ship in like the history of all big ships and stuff. And then, as you said, it's just got the flimsiest engines and you just feel like, come on, what are you doing? Yeah, it's as I said, I get the point was that it was supposed to be, it's uber futuristic, it's the 27th century, so everything would be huge. But then when you actually read what the dimensions are of it, it's ridiculous. It's like small planet size.
Yeah, that's RimWorld, isn't it? Yeah, you know, it's like, it's funny because I watched that scene multiple times because it's one of my favorite Enterprise shows, and I'm just waiting for some young man to say, "What do you think of that ship?" Anyway, by the way, and Archer would have come across and he's good and hokey old style and said, "It's a load of crap." But it's the only bad word he was allowed to say on that series. He said it about 20 times, and it was always the poor Vulcans, So you used to get it in the ear. But yeah, I think that's what he would have probably thought of that. Let's leave it with Archer, and I'll leave it. That.
But no, it is. I've heard it described as one of those pizza cutter type things, and very thin, bladed saucer. And I read somewhere that they tried to make it look like the NX-01 so that it could be a reference back. But again, that's nonsense when you actually have all of the other Enterprises in between. Like, why would only the NX-01 and the J look similar and then nothing else? So that's why it has that stupid a saucer-based deflector and no real drive section and stuff. So again, it just makes it look silly. It just looks unfinished in the design.
It looks like a packing trolley as well. That you just you put pallets on it and just very fancy one. That probably just do it itself, and that the handlebars are just for show. You just imagine it coming into battle and all the Klingons just a couple of seconds and then just bursting into laughter. What is this, lads? What did you do? Where have you been?
We'll leave that alone for now because I do actually own the model. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not very well designed. So we're going to go around to everyone's first honourable mention as well now then. And again, we'll come back around to you, Ken. What's your first honourable mention that didn't quite make the top?
Let me see. Franklin class, really liked it. Hated those movies, but I did like the Franklin class. I thought that thankfully, something's come into it, and that reminded me of Enterprise. So yeah, I liked it. It was a bit clunky, it was a bit too big as well. I don't think they even tried to class it as a starship. I think there was something to do with a kind of an old version of a runabout, wasn't it? But it was okay. I mean, they didn't bother their backside even to look at Enterprise's sets, to try and at least try and find some kind of lineage. So from the inside, it wasn't great, but from the outside, it was okay. That's why it didn't get on to be top 10. It was okay. I like the drop, the L kind of, it's going to crash. It's going, there it is, hey, so but whoever designed the ignitions on them, I mean, they should be, working for Tesla because the cold start was like 300 years old. So
fair enough. Rick, what about you? Do you have your first honourable mention?
I do, yeah. My first honourable mention is the Constellation class because it's rocking 4 nacelles like a boss. It's clearly someone just got a couple of movie Enterprise model kits and just mushed a load of stuff together. But it works. It's marvellous.
That's awesome. I mean, it didn't appear much. I think it's only in one episode, maybe 2 of Next Gen, and then you don't really see it.
So you see it's the Stargazer in the season 1. You see it in season 2 as the Hathaway, and you do see it in Picard's blockade fleet in Redemption 2.
Okay, wow, that's nerdy knowledge. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think you may. I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about the latest episode of Picard.
Well, have we all seen it before you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. We've all seen it then. Yeah.
Well, there's one in the Fleet Museum.
Is there?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You couldn't miss it with those 4 nacelles. Sure, you couldn't.
Exactly.
I had it on pause, and I was right up on the TV. My wife came in. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, she's like, and I said, "I'm just checking out what class these starships are." And she just rolled her eyes. Jesus, and it's
You
like,
could have just waited. It was posted to Twitter and Instagram like the next day. I've got the little picture with it all.
She would have been less surprised if it had Pornhub on. It was just like,
Oh my gosh.
she was just there going, "What are you guys? What are you doing?" Like, and it was I was really annoyed because I said, "How can I spot the Stargazer first, and everything else I have to double take?" So, and then I got really annoyed that people started spotting ships that I didn't see, and I was going back rewinding, and then it's not like you can't just rewind like a sky. You have to keep pressing your phone, and it goes too far. And, I ended up watching the episode again.
That is awesome. That's the best
I waited
story.
and I have the image. Yeah.
This whole series of Picard has been every Trekkie has been wearing out the pause button, and rewinding every
Pause button,
every
yeah.
screen display, every
Yeah.
ship shot. We're all pausing and looking.
Yeah.
Adrienne, do you have your first honourable mention?
Yes, I have an honorable mention. It's the Enterprise C. Long live Captain Rachel Garrett and her crew.
Great.
The Red Lady herself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I love the Enterprise thing. I just wish we'd gotten to see more of it. Like, there's no image this cool and clean, the one I have on screen here, in yesterday's Enterprise, and it would have been nice if there was, because it's a design that should have been showed off more. And again, Rick will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we saw an ambassador class anywhere else either.
We
So
did, yes. Redemption again. Riker has command of the Excalibur, which is ambassador
Right.
class.
Okay.
We
Cool.
also see one in the Emissary Wolf 359 sequence.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that one, actually, now you mention it, but I definitely don't recall seeing one in Redemption. But yeah, okay, cool. So the Enterprise C got a shout out on Adrienne's honourable mentions. DK, what about you?
Oh, right. My first honourable mention is from the Kelvin movies, and it's the Vengeance.
As I said to you, I don't count Section 31 as being Starfleet, even though they officially are.
I'm not the biggest Section 31 fan, but it's just big. It looks badass, and it's commanded by Buckaroo Banzai. And yeah,
that was
okay,
that was the seller for you, wasn't it? It was Peter Weller.
It was. He wished me
That's
Merry
fair
Christmas.
Yeah. So my first honourable mention then is actually one of the Discovery ships I just complained about, because it's one of the times I think that the design works, and it is the USS Europa. I can't remember the class name now off the top of my head. But yeah, the Europa from the early first season of Discovery. One of them was, I think, the Admiral's ship that got destroyed by the Klingons early in one of the battles. And I don't know, I just like it. It's got 4 nacelles, so it'll appeal to you, Rick.
They're a little close in. I'm not keen on that.
Ah, fair enough. Well, to make you see, it's kind of like, it's almost like the Constellation class and the Miranda class had a baby. So, but yeah, I just like the way that the nacelles kind of intersect scrape into the hull in that way, and it makes the boxy look make sense. And I don't know, there's something about it that I just find visually appealing. I can't really go beyond that, but yeah, shout out to the Europa for my first one. So we're going to go around and give everyone's number 9 for 2 points then now, because we've done the first honourable dishonourables. So again, we'll start with you, Ken. What was your number 9 ship in your list?
Okay, number 9 was when they took the Sovereign and somebody said, "Oh, could you make one for my little brother?" And they came up with the what's it called? The Nova class. I love the Nova class. She was the USS Equinox in Voyager. And I kind of felt sorry for all them poor feckers on that ship, And it was a nice design. I liked it, but as I said, it was like as if somebody said, "Make me a baby version of the Sovereign, please," and they did. So it was a nice little design. I love the way the front of it has that kind of the reflector shields kind of embedded a little bit.
Okay, that's cool, because that means you don't particularly like the Rhode Island then, which evolves to lose that.
The only thing I didn't like about it was it had suicide bridge, because the top of the bridge was made like that. It was like every warrior race could just go, "Oh, there they are, fire whatever there, take that glass out," because no one's going to tell me that transparent aluminism, or whatever it's called, can withstand a photon torpedo, or shall we say a quantum torpedo. So yeah, I didn't like that design. I thought that was a bit stupid, but other than that, it was a nice little ship, nice and neat, and I thought it looked great in Voyager. It deserved to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies for the only one that I was able to grab at quick notice was from the alternate timeline in Picard season 2. So
That's nice. That's exactly what I have. Yeah,
but it is the ship. It is the Nova class ship. You can see what you mean.
Yeah,
so
it's a mini sovereign.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of the sovereign class.
They should have called
science
Diamante
vessel equivalent
class or something like that, or Ruby class or something less expensive in the jewelry than a sovereign.
So that's 2 points for the Nova class. Again, I presume you mean the class rather than the Equinox specifically.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Fair enough. And Rick, what about you? What's your number 9 for 2 points?
My number 9 is the Daedalus class.
The old classic.
I am ready to fight anyone who wants to argue canon with me on this because they've not officially appeared, but I love these ships.
They have.
I know I was going to say there's been a model on Cisco's
That's what I was going to
shelf,
say.
Yeah, but we've not seen one as a ship per se. I'm saying it's canon, so. But I just
I've
think
always considered canon.
Yeah, they're an awesome proto-Federation style thing. So as I said, not appeared on screen, but the postulated as an early design based on some of Matt Jeffrey's initial designs for the first Enterprise, on his reasoning that a sphere is a good pressure vessel shape. Well, obviously it modified to saucer, and there's we've never seen as a working ship. So let's say Cisco's got the model, and in the encyclopedia they suggest that the USS Essex that was mentioned in TNG's power play, there's probably a Daedalus class. So that's good enough for me. I was always hoping we might see one in Enterprise, and obviously we never did. But I would imagine they must have cropped up in the Romulan War. So I just think they're a really smart design is like a precursor to the original series. That's exactly what you think would be the sort of thing you'd be seeing.
Yeah. I really always liked the design. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it is so different. So, yeah, the one on screen at the moment is the USS Horizon, which again was never confirmed, but was speculated to have been a Daedalus class. And yeah, I like them. Like I said, they're as good as canon, and one assumes they were the forebears of what became the Pasteur or the Olympic class. So, it didn't come out of nowhere. No, I guess. So, yeah, that's cool. I like that somebody picked that because I do love a bit classic pre-TOS type idea. So yeah, Daedalus class, 2 points. Adrienne, I believe you were next. What is your number 9 for 2 points?
Okay, my number 9 is the USS Prometheus from the Message in a Bottle episode of Voyager.
Yeah, it is.
That's such a good ship. This is a super personal one for me because I had just had a new baby. I was going to UCLA. I was so overwhelmed, but Star Trek kept me grounded. And this is when Deep Space Nine and Voyager was on together. And so I had like my VHS tapes and I would record live off TV, like with all the horrible commercials and everything. And this episode I thought was so great because Andy Dick had kind of been, kind of a shifty guy in real life, but here he was just really doing well. And in this Voyager, this Voyager episode, but I loved it. It was warp 9.99. It had holoprojectors on every deck. It had multi-vector assault mode. Happened to have a nice stash of Neurozine gas, and the damn Romulans had kidnapped it. So what is not to love about this ship?
Yeah.
I think it looked good until it started breaking up. Then you kind of got confused and said what goes where. It did look
you can tell. You can tell.
It looked like a trowel as well. That was the only thing I was thinking of when I first saw it. So, but yeah, it's kind of grown on me now. I think looking at it now, I could say it's feasible, But I think we might have overthought it a little bit. I think in the design and said, "Oh, let's just make it like it breaks into 15 pieces," But it works. It's a great episode. Anyway, it's a great episode. I love the episode.
Very good episode. Yeah.
Romulans were awful. Awesome. Egypt's in that one.
I really want at one point just O'Brien to come back and say that. You Romulans, stop being awful Egypts, will you?
Awful Egypts.
Let us rescue you from your bloody planet.
Jesus, man, is that an Irish accent? Holy God. That's as bad as my English accents,
I'm so sorry. So yeah, that's 2 points to the Prometheus. DK, what is your number 9 ship for 2 points?
Okay, you loved Adrienne's pick, so on the opposite end of the spectrum, I know you're going to hate this because everybody hates this apart from me, apparently. It's the Oberth class.
It is one of my dishonorable mentions, which I'm sure I'll get to. But yeah, go ahead. What do you like about the inexplicable, terrible-looking orb.
I'm very much a child of the TOS movies. So up until the actual movies, whenever you saw another Federation ship in the series, it was just the Enterprise under a different name, and it was just great to see all these new variations on Federation ships. And when I saw the Oberst, I thought, that looks great. I mean, I can hand wave away just how it works.
I can't.
Yeah, get that Joel Hodgson gif up there, man. But yeah, it might not be very practical, but I still like how it looks.
It looks good in rock. Yeah. You know, when they found it inside the meteor or whatever. Yeah. You know, oh look, it's
the Pegasus,
design. Yeah. It looks good. And I love the internal transporters to get down to the drive section. That was cool.
Oh, that's how they do it. Nobody could answer me that question. Right? Okay.
That's how they got down. It's the only way.
That's my issue with it. Yeah.
It's the designer said, "Where's the centerpiece? Where? Oh, and you're just we've already built 10. Just work it out." Oh, Brian, where are you?
Pretty much. I'll rant about it now because it was on my dishonorable mentions, but I'll get it out the way and just say, that's my biggest issue with it, is just how exactly do you get from the main section to the drive section? And as I looked it up, I found out some people that I swear tried to argue that there are 6 complete decks in those nacelle struts. And I'm like, what? There's no room for 6 complete decks. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so, I mean, I love it, but I ain't buying that.
The drive section is ugly. It points out too much. The saucer's too small, and it can get destroyed with one shot from a Klingon ship, which can't be good. So,
yeah, that was kind of like Italian job, wasn't it?
It's just a science ship, really.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the point. It has no defenses and armaments. And Starfleet were like, maybe we just don't do this. Again, I was looking it up. I forget why, but on one of the wikis. And it was like it was intended as a science vessel for what was low risk friendly space, and then it was decided there is no such thing as low risk friendly space, so we just stopped making them. What was a dumb idea to start with?
When that scene happened, you know, I kind of thought of Michael Caine just kind of saying, "You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off." he took the whole ship like,
we're supposed to blow off the bloody warp core. Yeah, exactly. Oh well. So that gets my dishonorable mention out the way. But I will give you my number 9 ship. My number 9 is another Discovery ship, but it's from a completely different era. And this might be unpopular, but you know, it's my list. So my number 9 is the Voyager J, the futuristic version of the Voyager that you see in Discovery. I don't think we've seen nearly enough of it, and I really love the design. It was another one where, when I was finally able to inspect the model and see what it's supposed to actually look like, instead of just seeing like, you know, a section of the hull on a screen somewhere, I was like, this is such a really cool design. It's a shame they didn't have more of a chance to show it off, because I don't know, it just looks. It's got the cool Tron vibe going with the lights, you know. It's got the cool thing that I like about the Prometheus, which is the pointed, you know, saucer section that looks, I guess, like a trowel if you want. Whatever. Has the detached nacelles that I like, and also the drive section and saucer are technically detached. And it just looks cool. It looks cool, futuristic. It is just like Voyager souped up to a 32nd century design. And and I don't play the game myself, but I'm informed that if you use it on Star Trek Online, it's quite a beast as well. So there you go.
Kind of in the bottom section, it's very kind of Empire, isn't it? It's like, you know, you can imagine it being like one of their disruptor class stars, you know those big things they had in the Bat Star Wars. But yeah, is there another view of the top section? What's the story with the detachable nacelles? What happens when they detach? Does the ship stop moving or something, or what is it?
No, all the nacelles are detached in the 32nd century because apparently it gives it greater range of movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give them a few more thrusters, you know.
Logic.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's certainly huge, though, isn't it? Judging by the windows, it's massive.
Yeah, I don't even know if they are windows, because the top of the saucer has them all like run down, and it looks more like they're, I don't know, just trenches or something, or like indents. Like, yeah, I mean, more or less, yeah. But so then we're going to come back around to. Do you have another dishonorable mention, Ken, that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, and it's extremely dishonorable because it really dishonors my favorite captain. the Archer class. Oh my God! Like, let's give one of the greatest heroes in Starfleet, the only man who can say that's a load of crap and make people listen. It is actually a load of crap. I mean, like, they gave him one nacelle. What does that say about Captain Archer? Oh, he's all right. He's gone 500 years. No one's going to remember him. You know, it's like, I didn't like it. I thought it was terrible, terrible, terrible. I said it 3 times. It looks like it really needs, you know, an extra few bits on it. And I hate the midsection. Again, we've got this Oberth class kind of, let's beam down. You know, sorry, I'll just do all the robots there or something. We don't need to go down to the drive section at all. Or either they just went down and shoot. Woo! Gigantic slide into the engineering section. So everybody wanted to work there for the crack. You know, so no, didn't like it. Archer class, that's my gun.
I didn't have a problem with it because I just saw it as it was obviously supposed to be the old Saladin class from the sort of non-canon source books and things. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great design even in that case because it is just like one big nacelle and a small saucer or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't really... I can see what you mean. It doesn't really necessarily hold together, but I didn't have as big of an issue with it. DK, any more dishonorable mentions?
Yeah, tying back to my last normal entry, I am going to go with the curry.
Oh, there we are. I don't understand how you can like the Oberth and dislike the curry. They have all the same
the curry
problems.
looks like it's overcompensating for something.
It's just the Excelsior class saucer and drive section with Connie refit nacelles. It's not that complicated.
I feel like I want to step in and defend the curry class a little bit because
Thank you.
Is it that terrible?
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to Starfleet engineering that they can cobble all those bits together and still make a functioning starship. You know,
that's one very optimistic way to look at it. Yeah.
That's a great spin. No, it's a testament to the design engineering. No, fair play to you. You gave it a go.
Also, back when I won Trekker Mind, just going to throw that one in there. One of my prizes was the curry. So
it was. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Well, no, I lost it immediately to my little boy who saw that and thought, that's brilliant. Okay. Can I have that? So he's so attached to it, bless him. And he's just getting in, you know, he's 9. He's getting into Star Trek now. He loves the ship. So I just feel I couldn't look him in the eye if I didn't say, oh, yeah, I had to stick up for the curry last night. So.
I've got the model of it. I will be honest. I don't think it's that egregious. I can see what they were going for. But yeah.
I mean, it's got all the bits. It's got a saucer. It's got engineering. It's got nacelles, you know. And also you can connect all those bits, unlike certain ships we did mention.
And you will have to connect all those bits because those nacelles, again, are just so flimsily held, they will snap off.
Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, absolutely.
Still, yeah, they're good nacelles. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, my next dishonorable mention then is for a very different reason. I have no particular issue with the look of it. I think it's brilliant. But my next dishonorable mention is the Sombra class because it's just the Constitution class. Who do you think you're fooling? I mean,
oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Why? Why give it a different name? Why do that? Now you've just confused us so much that anytime we see a Constitution class in Strange New Worlds, it could also be a Sombra class. Oh, it irritates me no end because they are identical. And then people are just like, no, they're not. The interior's got blue stripes on the Sombra and it's red on the Constitution. I'm like, get out of here. So we're back around to you again, Ken. What's your next honorable mention?
Okay. I'm going to stick with this now. We've already had the Nova class, and now we're going to a Scandinavia, and we're going to talk about the Norway class. I love the Norway class. Again, it's very similar. Yeah, very similar. I love that scene where it comes swooping in and launches all the torpedoes. It's really brilliant. I love it. I like the back of it as well. The way it has that kind of the two, the nacelle and the pylons, they kind of give a gap for a starship or a shuttlecraft to go in there. It's really nice. And it doesn't have the glass kind of bridge, which is why I gave it better marks than the other fella. So yeah, it's a nice little ship, tough little ship, as they say. Yeah.
Oh, who's next? Let's see. Rick, what was your next honourable mention?
My next honourable mention is the Luna class.
So the original Titans class,
the original then. USS Titan, yes, canonized. Thank you, Lower Decks. So yeah, I just really like it. It's great. It's got the Sovereign class style with the Miranda class kind of underslung nacelles kind of thing going on. So I think it works. I think we had the Nebula class established that, you know, each generation of ships is going to have a version with the nacelles underneath. So we had the Miranda
there's a
with the
few.
Nebula. So now the Luna is the Sovereign's version of that.
Yeah. Apologies for how abysmally small that image is, but that is a Luna class, I promise. So
yeah, they're bigger in real life.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fair enough. I can't believe I didn't get a better image than that, but yeah. Anyway. That's your next honourable mention. DK, what about you? What was your next honourable mention then for your list?
My next honourable mention is the Akira class.
Oh, okay. You're a fan of Japanese anime then. That's what it was named after. I'm not making that up.
Yeah, it was just great seeing him in action in the Dominion War.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? I can't remember really seeing a lot of them, but okay. I know that they've turned up in Picard and such recently-ish.
I believe there's one in the Fleet Museum as well.
Oh, is there? Oh,
There's
yes,
two in the Fleet Museum, actually.
There's two.
Yeah. It's for some reason it has two slots, Akira class. Don't know why, but okay. I'll try and move us along quickly. So I will say my next honourable mention, we've already talked about it, would have been the Equinox or the Nova class, which was already brought up by Ken. So
Bravo.
I'll just sort of piggyback on that and say we'll start everyone's number 8. So Ken, what was your number 8 ship for 3 points?
Number 8 made my eyes water when I first saw it. The Strange New Worlds Enterprise, when it pulled up against the jalopy of the Discovery, it looked like, look at you. You ain't going to the ball, are you? It's like, when the other guy turned around and said, that's a beautiful ship, isn't it? You know, I was like, oh, don't say that in front of the captain. You know, so it was just brilliant. And like, I thought they did a great job because I was kind of worried sick. I was biting my nails going, oh, here we go. Now it's going to be some jalopy looking thing, you know, but no, it looked great. It looked really cool. You know, it wasn't as if MTV kind of, you know, rejigged your old car. It was looked proper order. And then they kept it and kind of improved on it a little bit in the series itself. So that's my number 8. I'll never stop loving it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, what we'll call the Disco Prize, or the for ease of reference, but yeah, the Discovery Strange New Worlds visual redo of the Enterprise. Absolutely, good looking.
The Barack Obama version, kind of.
Fair enough. We'll move quickly along to you then, Rick. What was your number 8 for 3 points?
Number 8, the Defiant class. That tough little ship is against everything I believe in. Short nacelles, pulled right into the body, built for war. But despite that, makes sense because after all 359, of course, Starfleet would need to build some ships to hold on to for another cube. And also, that design kind of makes sense. Why have your nacelles on spindly pylons that can be shot off? Keep it compact, maneuverable, easy to cover in a plate of armor. And DS9 absolutely made it work. So yeah, even though on paper you think, "Oh, this is a departure for Star Trek," it's brilliant, and I was delighted to see it come up in First Contact. Absolutely gutted when the first one was destroyed by the Breen. Glad they got another one. I just love the awesome tough little ship.
Well, you've brought up my bugbear with this ship, which I always reference to everybody, which is, as you said, it was entirely created to fight the Borg. That was its entire raison d'etre. That's what it was made to do. It faced the Borg once and got completely trounced.
I
don't think it was meant to. They meant it. One ship, one of them would fight the Borg.
Yeah.
Though I think it was an intention because they're 4 decks big. They intended to churn out a bunch of these for Borg destroying fleets.
So then you would just have a bunch of them that got quite easily trounced.
I don't know. I think the Defiant was the one ship we saw actually making an impact before the Enterprise E turned up.
Did we though? I think I saw some Akira classes in Norway get some good hits in, but yeah. So my point is that not only did it fail what it was actually created to do, it managed to fail that twice because, as you said, it was also then destroyed by the Breen. So like, okay, you can't fight against the Borg, but we're at war with the Dominion, and you've now been repurposed for that. You surely can't suck at this job. Nope.
It did have a ramming speed on it, though. Do you remember he said, "Prepare for ramming speed. Today's a good day tonight." Like that whole front thing could take out any starship by long. So yeah, it had a double use.
Also, I kind of think you're very much like you're kind of ignoring the very good performance that a year and a half of Dominion War the Defiant had already put in.
Well, it's all about the end result, though, isn't it?
Well, we won the war eventually.
Tell that to the USS Odyssey, huh? Hi, Brian. Hi, everybody. Bang. Galaxy class no more.
That's fair enough. A lot of people are going to be fans of that. So that's 3 points to the Defiant class specifically, or do you want to go with the USS Defiant?
The class.
Okay. Hey everyone, this is Editor Mike chiming in at this point just to say that unfortunately at this point during the recording of this top 10 episode we briefly lost Rick. He had a pet related emergency he had to run off and attend to, but fear not, he does turn back up and we do catch up on all of the numbers that he missed when he had to leave us. So if you're wondering why I'm not going to Rick for a few numbers, that's why, but fear not, he'll be back and you'll hear us welcome him back and catch up on all of his other choices that we had raced through. So back to the episode. Thank you. Awesome. And you'd be next, Adrienne. What is your next one for 3 points? Your number 8 ship.
My number 8 ship is the USS Saratoga Miranda class. This is such a great scene for me. Battle of Wolf 359, of course, and we know that Jake loses his mom and starts his arc, but you know, the line where Picard says, "Oh, well, have we met before?" And then Sisko says, "Yes, sir, we met in battle. It was at Saratoga. I was on the Saratoga at Wolf 359." And we watched the escape pod perspective from the Saratoga where the Borg has it in their tractor beam and it blows up. And it's just so, it just sticks in my brain.
That makes sense for an emotional moment, and it was obviously such a good scene that the writers of Picard season 3 just decided to rip it off wholesale. So, so why not?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also learned, of course, you know, I was in the Navy, and I used to see the Saratoga all the time when I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh,
so
that's sweet. That's got a really good meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. DK, what is your number 8 ship for 3 points then?
My number 8 ship is also the Miranda class.
Oh, okay. Well, so that's the whole overall Miranda class you're referring to, I assume.
Yeah.
That's
I fell in love with the Reliant as soon as I saw it, and then.
Well, then why didn't you pick the specific?
Oh no! I'm not going to be, precious about it.
You're going to keep that off the list by doing that, but okay. So you went with the Miranda class overall, which has like 17,000 variants and different types of ship, the most versatile ship in the fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Any other particular thoughts or reasons behind it?
No, it's again, like the old berth, was my first experience of a Federation ship that was not Constitution class. And I just thought it looked beautiful, and then see it again later on Trek 4, and then later on in Next Generation, Deep Space Nine with the Saratoga. Yeah, just it's always stuck with me.
Fair enough. Okay. So that was your number 8. So we're going to go around and we're going to tell everyone to blast straight through their last dishonorable and honourable mentions. So we'll start with you, Ken, if you wouldn't mind. What have your last 2 dishonourable mentions, first of all?
Oh, well, I've got one more left, so you can even get it.
Okay, fair enough. That's cool.
It's the Crossfield class. I think I've said enough about that. So.
Okay, the Discoveries class. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Let's just leave it there, I think.
That makes sense. That's all right then. Awesome. What about you, DK? Any more dishonourable mentions?
I have one, but it's kind of stretching the limits of canon a bit. It did used to be canon.
Okay.
It was a ship from the old FASA Star Trek role-playing game.
Okay. Well, it's only dishonourable mention, so that's fine. You can shout it out here.
Yeah, it was the USS Larson, which was like this spindly little thing, which was basically the saucer section and one nacelle. It was the weakest ship.
That sounds a lot like the Saladin class, to be honest.
It was the weakest ship in the entire game. Every time someone randomized your pick and you ended up with a Larson, you just thought, well, I may as well not be playing then, because you knew it was going to last about 2 minutes.
This sounds like a personal vendetta to me.
First of all, it was listed as a destroyer. So yeah, it was just, you thought the Defiant did a poor job. Just wait till you saw the Larson in action. Jesus.
Well, I only have one last dishonourable mention then. Again, I do own this, so I am hypocritical, but that's me. That's life. My last dishonourable mention is the McGee class.
Oh, right.
So again, from from very early Discovery, but what makes it worse is that it was so bloody prominent. It's everywhere in that first season, and it pops up as an image in the mess hall all the time, and it's just such a crap design. If you're going to have warp nacelles, don't have them completely bisecting your saucer, if nothing else. Do you know how dangerous that is? If you have like a warp intermix failure or anything, your entire ship's going up. It's just, it bugs the crap out of me.
It's about to transform. You know, it's like it's like halfway through a transform, actually. It's like as if, the Autobots caught up while it was halfway through. Oh, come on, just give me a minute. I'm nearly done here. It's nah.
That's all I can see now. I can just imagine those nacelles becoming feet for like a Megazord.
Yeah.
the bridge just glowing eyes and the 5 Power Rangers in there. But no.
The Klingons would laugh their heads off. They saw that. They say, which part do we blow up first?
Well, the thing is, you don't just aim anywhere. It's so poorly designed. It is one just mess around.
You can't miss. You can't.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. You're going to hit something vital. And
send a spatial torpedo for the fun of it.
And just for the final insult, it's so poorly designed that they couldn't even get the name and registry on the front. It's on the side of the ship.
Yeah, laugh at that. Go faster name. Go on.
So yeah, that was my last dishonorable mention. Ken, what about your last honorable mention? I think we have 2 left at most each. So do you have any?
The last honorable mention I have is the Sabre class. Again, it's from that period of time. I really liked it. It was a nice little ship, and I thought the design was pretty cool on it. It pops up in First Contact. I don't know whether it pops up in Deep Space Nine. I'm sure it did, but it looked like a kind of ship that you could, perform duties around the inner core of the Federation, and it would do a nice little job. So my favorite ship there, number 7.
Oh, I was asking for your next honorable mention.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's an honorable mention. Yeah, so that's
cool. The Sabre class always, I don't know why, but it just has a real cool, aggressive look to Adrienne. Do you have any more honorable mentions?
Yes, my final honorable mention is actually something I don't think we saw, but it's the USS Albatani from the Caretaker episode of Voyager where we meet Janeway. And she's looking down at Paris and he's down there like working, and she says, "I served with your father on the Albatani." So I heard the name Albatani a million times just from rewatching the episode.
DK, what about you? Any honorable mentions left?
Yeah, I have another, which is the faster role-playing one, which is a counterpoint to my last dishonorable one, if that's okay.
Yeah,
it's the Chandley class. I'm sending it over to you. I have no idea who it was named after. I love the look of it. If you look at it from the side, it looks like it was designed by someone with meth. But from the top and the front view, I just think it's just a beautiful. It's very much a mid-tier ship, but it was a dream to pilot back in the game.
That's fair enough. Yeah, from a front view, it doesn't look great either, to be honest. The front view fully looks like the ship from the first season of Lost in Space. The nacelles look like they're attached by bat wings as well on the back of it. And that was his honourable mention.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. I had the O-berth on my main list. What do you expect?
That's fair. That's fair enough. So was that all of your honourable mentions then?
It is, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I have 2 more. The first one of which would have been on my list if it had actually appeared yet, but it hasn't. And it is the Enterprise F. Which again we know. It's probably, I could have regarded it as canon because of online and everything, and it has appeared in the trailers for Picard season 3, but it just unfortunately hasn't been in the show yet, so I couldn't include it on my main list, particularly over things that have appeared on screen. I'll probably regret that as soon as it appears in Picard. I will immediately have a nerdgasm and think it should have been on my list. It looks so good, but for now it'll have to remain as an honourable mention. And my final honourable mention is just the USS Cerritos from Star Trek Lower Decks. Yeah, the California class USS Cerritos Lower Decks, because I think it's a really good design. I like the way it harkens back to the Enterprise D, but with a little bit of a Miranda class spin to that as well. So, yeah. And we will leave that there for part 1 of the top 10 starships. Do come back next week for our numbers 7 to 1 and our final list of what will be our ultimate top 10 by combining the various scores and things. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Apologies to any of the ships that got our dishonorable mentions. We love them really, but we do like a nitpick us Trekkies. But hopefully we haven't upset anybody if that's your favorite ship. We do love all spaceships, as I said. So Yeah, and hopefully you've agreed with some of our choices. Maybe you have some of your own that you would like to comment on in the comments of YouTube or on our social medias, which you can always reach via the various links that are in our episode descriptions. So hopefully we will see you again next week for the best of the ships. And in the meantime, remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Created, produced, and edited by Michael Wilson. Additional material produced by DK. Music by Timeless Journey. More information can be found at soundcloud.com/Timeless Journey. The Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast is based on an idea by Michael Wilson and Will Templar. Follow the podcast on Instagram at HoM Star Trek Podcast, or look for the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast under Facebook groups. Links to all our social media accounts and more are in this episode's description. This podcast is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Silver Screen Hit or Miss Star Trek. This has been a Mike's Podcast production, copyright 2022. Thank you for listening.